I'm Kris, and today I'll be talking about STL Santa Monica Tenor Ocarina. This is a great ocarina for an intermediate to advanced player, or any player looking for a versatile ceramic ocarina with a bright tone and a lovely aesthetic. The Santa Monica Tenor Ocarina is fully chromatic and plays in the key of C from A4 to F6, giving it a range of 1 octave plus 5 for a total of 13 notes. Here's the scale. The Santa Monica Tenor is about 7 inches long, and it's about 4 inches wide. It weighs about 10 ounces, which is about the same as my Nintendo 3DS. Here they are next to each other for a better size comparison. The Santa Monica Tenor is a transverse ocarina with a more traditional shape. Many players find ocarinas with this popular shape very comfortable to play. I also find that the subholes are set at a very comfortable distance from the main holes, and there's also a tiny bit of beveling, which makes it a little bit easier to cover the subholes quickly. The Santa Monica Tenor is made of glazed ceramic, so the texture is smooth like glass with a glossy, sparkly finish. The color variation will differ slightly from ocarina to ocarina, making each Santa Monica a unique piece of art. The Santa Monica Tenor is an excellent ocarina for developing good breath control. To stay on pitch, you'll need to use softer breath on the lowest notes, with an increasing amount of breath as you go up the scale. For the highest notes, you'll want to use a very firm breath pressure. It projects very well, which makes it excellent for performing with other instruments, but the volume is still soft enough to enjoy playing it inside too. Because it may take some time and practice to get the best results with this ocarina, I recommend the Santa Monica Tenor to intermediate and advanced players, players with previous woodwind experience, and also dedicated beginners. The Santa Monica Tenor has a tone that is very bright and responsive. It has a very consistent timbre throughout its range that is focused and clean. If this is your first ocarina, I recommend practicing over a soft surface until you become comfortable with the ergonomics, even while using the neck strap. Plastic ocarinas can easily survive a fall, but the Santa Monica, like any ceramic ocarina, is more susceptible to breakage. I would recommend doing this for every new ocarina until it feels comfortable in your hands and you can confidently play the highest notes. To discover the best technique for playing the highest notes, you'll probably want to experiment with a couple of different techniques to find out not only what works best for you with your hands, but also what works best for the ocarina. For example, I like to use one technique on ocarinas that have a longer, more slender shape, and a different technique for ocarinas that have a more round, submarine-like shape. The shape of the Santa Monica is a very traditional classic shape, so I find that both techniques work pretty well on it. The first technique involves gripping the tail of the ocarina with your right ring and pinky finger as you approach the highest notes. And you'll want to grip it in a way so that your right thumb rests flat over the thumb hole in a very comfortable position, with the padded part of your thumb making a good seal over the hole. So if you need to grasp the end of the ocarina or choke up a bit, just grasp it however it's comfortable, but make sure not to block the right pinky hole. If you need to stretch your fingers out a little bit so that they come around on the front of the ocarina, then you can do that as well. If it's comfortable to put the end of the ocarina into your palm, that's also a great way to stabilize it. As you reach high D, you'll want to lift off that left thumb and move it to the side of the ocarina. It isn't required, but I find that it helps. And there's also a little notch there on the side of the Santa Monica that makes a great resting spot for the thumb. The second technique is better for faster playing, and it doesn't involve changing hand positions. you want to keep your hands in the same position, but as you reach the highest notes, you'll want to use your pinky finger again as kind of a counterbalance on the front of the ocarina, and that allows your thumbs to be able to roll off the holes. So most of the weight is still being supported on your thumbs as they roll off, and with the tail of the ocarina with your pinky as a counterbalance. But again, that's a better way for faster playing to keep your hands in the same position. Alright, so let's talk about how to get the best possible sound on the highest notes. And the way to do that is through good breath support. And this involves not only blowing harder in the highest notes, but also blowing more efficiently. And a lot of people, when they first start out, they don't realize that the breath slope is rising, so they use the same amount of breath in the highest three notes as they would on any of the other notes, like the lower notes. And unfortunately, that is going to result in the notes being out of tune. They'll sound slightly flat, and they also may sound airy. They're not going to have the beautiful, clear tone that you're really striving for. So the way to avoid that is to have good breath support. And one thing that helps is to have good posture, because that facilitates good breathing, the kind of breathing that you'll want to be doing as you play. Proper breath support comes from the diaphragm, so the air will be coming from deep in your belly instead of shallow breathing up in your chest. So breathing from the diaphragm, and also tightening your lips so that the airflow that's going through your lips and into the ocarina, the air is traveling faster, and that's going to give you a much better sound for the high notes. I also find that leaning forward can slightly improve the tone, but honestly, if you are focusing your breath and using proper breath support, it's definitely possible to get a beautiful clear tone without having to do that. There are a couple of things you can do to help develop good intonation, which is something that will be really important if you plan on playing with other musicians later on. I recommend starting out with a tuner, either a physical one, or you can get some great free ones online. There are phone apps that work great for tuners. But I really recommend spending some quality time with your ocarina at first and making sure that you're using the correct amount of breath to play each note in tune. And this will do a couple of things. This will help you develop muscle memory for how much breath to use for each note so that you really learn that breath slope. But it will also help you develop a good natural sense of intonation so that you're hearing those notes and you know what they sound like. And you can also practice intonation by playing notes an octave apart. You can play high B and A and compare it with low B and A using the subholes to make sure that you're reducing your breath the correct amount so that you're not playing those notes sharp or flat. And you can also practice D, E, and F, low D, E, and F, and compare them with high D, E, and F. And that will help you make sure that you're using proper breath support and playing those high notes in tune as well. The most important thing is to be patient with yourself. With practice, it becomes much easier to stay on pitch consistently. The tenor C range is very versatile and sounds great for playing most kinds of music. I find that the Santa Monica's bright tone is perfectly suited for playing faster, more technical music. Well, that's all for this time. Thanks for watching.